Field report number 7421. Cycle 19. Subject species: Homo sapiens. Observed individuals maintain prolonged visual fixation on small, self-illuminating rectangular artifacts. Average duration: 6.4 Earth hours per rotation. Subjects repeatedly tap and swipe the surface, eliciting rapid symbolic changes that appear to trigger micro-expressions of pleasure and agitation. Notably, environmental stimuli, auditory calls, nearby organisms, and nutritional needs are deprioritized during engagement. Attempts to remove the device produce signs of distress and immediate reacquisition behaviors. Function of the artifact remains unclear. It does not provide shelter, sustenance, or reproduction advantages, yet commands persistent attention. Hypothesis: feedback loop conditioning mechanism inducing voluntary captivity. Humans repeatedly check handheld luminous devices at short intervals, regardless of situational necessity. Observation indicates that individuals will unlock and inspect the glowing rectangle even when no new information has been transmitted, suggesting a compulsive verification ritual rather than a rational data retrieval process. The subject often performs this action during transitions, such as standing in lines, walking between locations, or even mid-conversation with other humans, indicating a prioritization of potential digital stimuli over immediate physical reality. Central Command requested clarification on whether this behavior yields adaptive benefits. However, no consistent increase in survival efficiency has been detected. Instead, the action appears driven by intermittent reward patterns, where unpredictable notifications reinforce continued checking. On our homeworld, information updates are delivered in scheduled neural pulses, eliminating the need for constant manual verification, which the Council considers more efficient. Humans, by contrast, seem to derive anticipation-based stimulation from the possibility of new content, even when prior checks have yielded nothing. The repeated motion of lifting the device, illuminating the screen, and scanning for symbols appears ritualistic, bordering on reflexive. In multiple cases, subjects were observed unlocking the device, finding no updates, and then repeating the same action seconds later, as if the passage of minimal time could significantly alter the data landscape. This suggests that the behavior is not governed by logical expectation but by a loop of anticipation and mild reward. The glowing rectangle thus functions not merely as a tool but as a behavioral trigger system that captures attention in frequent, fragmented intervals. Humans exhibit reduced awareness of their physical surroundings while engaged with smartphone screens. Field observations confirm that when subjects direct their visual focus toward the illuminated surface, their responsiveness to external stimuli declines sharply, including obstacles, other humans, and environmental hazards. Numerous instances were recorded of individuals colliding with stationary objects, deviating from walking paths, or failing to respond to auditory signals while interacting with the device. Central Command initially hypothesized that humans might possess secondary sensory processing channels that compensate for visual distraction. However, this hypothesis has been disproven. Instead, the data suggest a significant attentional bottleneck, where cognitive resources are almost entirely reallocated to the device interface. On our planet, multitasking protocols distribute awareness evenly across sensory inputs, preventing such failures. The human system appears far less efficient in this regard. Particularly notable is the phenomenon of social blindness, in which subjects ignore nearby conspecifics in favor of digital interactions, even when the nearby individuals attempt direct communication. This indicates a hierarchy of attention in which remote, text-based or image-based stimuli override immediate physical presence. The Council has expressed concern that such behavior could reduce group cohesion and increase vulnerability to environmental threats. Despite these risks, humans continue to voluntarily enter this reduced awareness state multiple times per day, suggesting that the perceived rewards of screen engagement outweigh the immediate costs of diminished situational awareness. Humans display anxiety-like responses when separated from or unable to access their smartphones. Controlled observation scenarios in which the device was removed or rendered inoperative produced measurable behavioral changes, including restlessness, repeated pocket-checking gestures, and increased vocal expressions of concern. Subjects frequently reported sensations described as missing something, or being out of the loop, indicating a psychological dependency on continuous connectivity. Central Command requested comparison to known attachment behaviors, and the closest analog appears to be proximity seeking in juvenile organisms toward caregivers, though here the attachment target is an inanimate object. On our world, informational access is internally integrated and cannot be misplaced, eliminating such dependency behaviors entirely. Humans, however, externalize memory, communication, and validation processes into the device, effectively extending their cognitive system into a fragile, separable object. When this object is absent, the system experiences functional incompleteness. Notably, even in environments where the device is not required for survival or task completion, subjects still exhibit discomfort when deprived of it. This suggests that the dependency is not purely practical but also emotional. The glowing rectangle appears to provide reassurance through constant potential for interaction, and its absence removes that stabilizing expectation. The Council finds it inefficient that a species would tether its sense of informational security to a battery-powered artifact with limited operational duration, yet humans continue to maintain this reliance with little attempt to mitigate the associated vulnerability. Humans engage in prolonged, repetitive scrolling behavior that lacks a defined endpoint or completion signal. During observation, subjects continuously move their digits across the device surface to reveal new content in a vertically expanding stream, with no inherent limit or conclusion. Unlike task-oriented activities, this behavior does not resolve into a completed state, yet humans persist for extended durations, often exceeding multiple hours per day. Central Command requested identification of the goal state for this activity. None has been conclusively identified. The content stream is algorithmically refreshed, ensuring novelty but preventing closure, which appears to trap the user in a perpetual consumption loop. On our planet, information systems are designed with clear termination points to preserve cognitive resources, making this human system appear deliberately inefficient. Subjects rarely demonstrate satisfaction or completion. Instead, they transition from one piece of content to another with minimal retention, suggesting that the process itself, rather than the information, is the primary driver. Physiological indicators such as reduced blinking and sustained posture, rigidity, further support the classification of this behavior as a trance-like state. When interrupted, subjects often express mild irritation, indicating that the loop has an internally reinforcing quality. The Council has noted that this design exploits the human preference for novelty combined with low-effort interaction, creating a self-sustaining engagement cycle. The absence of a natural stopping cue appears to be a critical factor, as humans do not voluntarily disengage until external constraints, such as fatigue or time obligations, intervene.